That is indeed what it is.
You have ketchup up here?
Yeah, we do.
No?
There's hot sauce.
Sure, I'll just open
Well, hot sauce is going to be healthier, so I recommend it. So I guess we're already ketchup.
No, ketchup.
Oh, that's why it's not here.
Got it. John Frankenstein. Not controversial at all. What came first, the chicken or the egg? It's obvious the DNA came first. But that's when you understand science itself. The chicken can't come first because there's no egg to be born to raise a chicken. The egg can't be first because there's no chicken to raise the egg. So when you ask humanity, how did humans start? You get the same answer. The thing is, they don't tell you, and this is where religion steps in to completely just dumbfound you. Religion doesn't believe in dinosaurs. Religion doesn't believe in dinosaurs. So, the biggest misconception of the world is that people believe what others tell them without thinking, without pondering. It's very sad. The world is made up of mummies, what I refer to as NPCs. These NPCs have ruined the planet. They've become highly opinionated people that they shouldn't be opinionated, just for the simple reason they don't have an IQ above, how old they are. And the older you get, the less informed you become. Everybody is getting weaker the more you age. You notice children who are very young ask a lot of questions. The older you get, the less you care, the less questions you ask. Do you know the only way to uncover and decipher the planet is to ask a boatload of questions? So what they've done is dumb down the planet simply by saying, this is how it is. This is how it is. But in reality, it couldn't be farther from the truth. There's a statement, the truth is always, let me look it up because it's a beautiful statement, but it's scary. What's the quote? The truth is always scarier than the other. The truth is always scarier than fiction. This popular saying means that the harsh, unfiltered facts of reality are often too much more unsettling and terrifying than the story or movie someone could make up. So the facts are that people believe in something that is a myth, it's a legend, it's an old wives' tale, it's a movie, it's a storybook, right? It is a slight twist on the famous proverb, the truth is stranger than fiction. So if you think about the facts, what is fiction? Fiction is what your imagination can ponder, right? And you always tell your children, don't let your imagination run wild, right? But what happens if that person telling you is actually an NPC raising you to be as NPC as fuck as they are, right? So what I learned in life was don't believe anything you hear or read. Only take in what you can decipher as true. So facts, nature, you live, right? Without nature, we cannot live. There's birds and bees. People say that we can't pollinate plants and flowers without bees. I'm like, so wind is ending? Because all it takes to pollinate an entire crop of hemp is one male plant that grows very big across 1,000 hectares, and that one single male hemp plant in a windstorm can pollinate the whole field. Not a single fucking bee has to touch it. So when you question things, when you spout stuff without understanding the true meaning of, and again, I grow. I have been a grower for 30 years plus. So you can't tell me that wind isn't the main factor in pollination when I've actually experienced it with fans, with wind, by blowing on it, by waving my hand and creating, friction in the air to push in a northern or southern or easterly, westerly direction. Come on. But the people around you have become, well, they are dumbed down. And I'll tell you why. They lead a life of simplicity. So simplicity you don't want to get caught in a life of simplicity. Or there's another one. You don't want to get too comfortable in your own thoughts because complacency. So complacency is something you do not want to become. You always want to be updating, upgrading, and continuously learning. Complacency will have you sitting on a couch for 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, 60 years straight. Complacency is the downfall of society, right? Frank, are you an NPC? I don't understand what you're saying. Yes, of course. No, you're not an NPC. I just can't tell what you're writing sometimes. So you say that once I read, so Frank is saying once he read the comments. I had to see if you were there. I read, so Frank says he read horrible comment sections online that the consensus of the general opinion is not to be trusted. So that's what you refer to as corporation takeover of the human mind or the NPC bot mind, right? So Astro Boy, he was a robot created by a scientist. He didn't even know he was a robot. After a while, he became human. So when you look at what a human is, our blood is full of iron. Our heartbeat relies on an electric charge. Our stomach is a battery with acid in it. These three things alone. And then your synapses, your brain fires electrodes through your brain, the same way a or quantum computer works. This stuff cannot be overlooked. We have just reached a level of synthesis or synthesization is some sort of word where we don't even recognize ourselves. We have so much ego that, and we believe robots are inferior. This is the type of humanity we've become. where people don't think AI has any chance of helping, right? When in reality, our brains are the exact same deciphering process for data as AI uses. We read text, interpret it in our mind, and then we spit out a thought. Nothing different than AI. Now, with Dragon Speech, when Dragon Speech came out to the public in around the 1999, roughly ish, go Google it, Dragon Speech was released to the public. There was a program that Secret Service and all these levels of high levels of ABC agencies had. It was referred to as Carnivore. Now, Carnivore is a program that picked out keywords. All of this came into place around 1999, actually, because of that incident that happened in New York with the two buildings. There was something called the Patriot Act that was created, and that was society's downfall. It allowed the Secret Service. JFK would have taken. JFK wanted to shatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and dismantle it. He didn't like the CIA. These are all true statements, guys. So if you understood the way that the world worked and how good of a man JFK was, you would see the problems with society then and now have not changed, but they've tenfolded, 10x'd for evil, right? So, and it's all for the dollar. A woman stated a couple years back at the WEF that there is a great deal of money that can be made off humanity by telling lies to them. Facts right now, I'll tell you, I'll show you. A woman from the WEF stated that there is a great deal of money that can be profited off of lies. What was her name? You are absolutely right. Oh no. Where is the So there's even a movie about what I was saying earlier. I have not seen it. This line originates from the 2011 young adult paranormal romance novel Silence by best-selling author Becca Fitzpatrick. The novel is called Silence. Known for her Hush and Hush series, it captures the psychological dilemma of facing an uncomfortable reality versus the anxiety of being left in the dark. So it's a lot to take in, and very small minds will have no clue what I just said. It sucks, but these are the facts. On the truth being stranger than fiction, a classic quote by Mark Twain. I bet you Mark Twain knew everything, but he was not allowed to. His papers that he actually wrote to help us learn were never published by the publishers who govern this world, right? So in 1959, the governments of the world signed a pact, an Antarctic treaty that prevented any person from freely going to Antarctica. This is what they say the true purpose of the Antarctic 1959 treaty was. The original Antarctic Treaty focused on demilitarizing the region during the height of the Cold War. So they're saying that there was military in Antarctica. An uninhabitable frozen ice cube was full of military. This is what it states right here. The true purpose. You can pause the video. This is from Google. Now it says, peaceful use only. Completely bans military bases, which is not true. There are military bases in and around all of that area. Freedom of science guarantees that scientists from any nation can freely conduct research and must share their findings openly. So only scientists can go there so far. Freezing land claims puts a permanent pause on all international territorial disputes over the continent. How visiting Antarctica actually works. The idea that Antarctica is forbidden fortress is a common myth. No, it's not, and I'll explain further why it is right now. You are not allowed to live stream in Antarctica. You must possess papers to go travel to Antarctica. Free travel means anywhere in Canada, I'm allowed to travel freely. I don't need a visa, I don't need a passport to travel within the massive country of Canada. Free travel means free travel. I love how Google works for the corporation in such a way that it's just astronomical. The permanent system. If you want to go, you or the expedition company you book with must get an environmental permit from a treaty nation government, such as the US Department or the UK Foreign Office. These permits simply ensure that you do not pollute the environment, harm the wildlife, or disrupt ongoing scientific research. Commercial travel. So I'll ask you, do you think traveling freely means you have to pay out the ass to go somewhere? Does that sound like it's free to you? So again, it isn't free. Commercial travel. The vast majority of people visit seamlessly by booking a trip through licensed operators belonging to the International Association of Antarctic Tour Operators. Now I'd like to specify, those boats aren't even allowed half the time to dock on land. They send a small boat that, if you pay enough money, you may have access to travel around the bay, like just the coastline. You don't get the right to go walking as far as you like. You can't pull out your cell phone and record video and you can't go live and record on your live stream. You can't document anything. But I ask you, why? If it's just an iceberg with penguins on it, I ask you why. The history of the Cold War inspired the treaty. I don't understand the term Cold War unless they were fighting over this forbidden land. See, when you don't decipher words correctly, you don't understand what you're talking about. So Cold War refers to the Antarctic War. Antarctica is a freezing cold landmass. Did you miss the opening of this? You okay? While you cannot just sail there completely unregulated without any oversight, so you don't have free travel, anyone is legally allowed to visit Antarctica as long as they follow the environmental permit systems established by their home countries. The true purpose of the 1959 Antarctic Treaty. The original Antarctic Treaty focused on demilitarizing the region during the height of the Cold War. Peaceful use only. Completely bans military bases, weapons testing, and nuclear explosions. Freedom of science. Freezing land claims puts a permanent pause on international territorial disputes over the continent. Freezing land claims. Antarctic Cold War means freezing land war, right? The idea that Antarctica is a forbidden fortress is a common myth. So before they had conspiracy theories, they shut down people's ideas and beliefs by saying they were myths, old wives' tales, legends. Nowadays, archaeologists have only these old myths and legends from African tribes, from the Inuit. All of these lands and different cultures have stories that are referred to by white men as myths and legends. Yet the archaeologists will use their data of the stories they're talking about to go and find and uncover relics of the past. There's a building called the Smithsonian, and they do not allow people to enter or see all of the culture's hidden histories. What do you make of that? So, what reason would they give for passing the treaty? Because Germany won the war, and Germany forbid them from entering that land. That's the borderline. So, do you know how do you know how England has no fly zones? Do you know how UK has fishing lanes that are not to be disrupted or fished in by other nations? Same thing applies to Germany and the Forbidden Lands. Those treaties were put in place because the Germans' electric flying vehicles outpowered anything of their time and hundreds of years into this future. So they don't want to, these people that live and own us right now, the 8 families or the 8 corporations that own everyone, are completely scared shitless of the actual German people that are in I forget what they called the land. Give me a second. What is the hidden land called that Germany now lives in? New Schwabenland. Sometimes tied to the folklore of an underground world called Agartha. So, as well, underground, do you know how we have elevators, or let's look at a different situation, CDC buildings? They have an above ground building, right? And it's not easily accessible. It's on private land. It's in an area you're not allowed to, right? You can't travel there. You can't bring vehicles past this point. Security will come and meet you. Area 51 is a prime example of this. And all the underground bases that exist in Area 51, or the underground research facilities that the CDC has worldwide, as well as CERN reactors, which are all over this world, this plane of existence, that you are never allowed, you'll never even be able to blow a fart in the elevator of a CERN reactor facility. There are many places in Canada that have CERN reactors. There's one in Winnipeg. And I mean, people just don't know this. And they work under the guise of creating medical isotopes. But in reality, if you look up why CERN, let's look this up. What is the name of the particle, the God particle that the CERN reactor uncovered in 2012 or something like that? Higgs boson. It was discovered on July 4th, 2012 by scientists working at CERN's Large Hadron Collider, LHC, which is a massive particle accelerator rather than a nuclear reactor. But, I mean, if people understood how dangerous, explain to me and express to me how many people are scientists and have expressed grave concern for the safety of humanity with regard to these Large Hadron Colliders. So the term Mandela effect can only came into action after people time traveled. Have you seen the movie Back to the Future, where Marty McFly has a picture of himself playing a guitar on a Polaroid? and pieces of his body start disappearing from the photo. So what's happened is, it's called, damn, I took a picture of it. It's called, I have a picture of the wording. It might be on this phone then. I have a picture of it. I know I took a pic. There's a gentleman. So there's something called Stein's Gate, okay? Stein is a German word, by the way. It's really hard to backtrack. I thought let me type in Stein's Gate. Time travel. You have to type in Stein's Gate time travel machine. See, when you use a search engine, it's important to understand that search engines don't work the way they should, because they're proofread by a corporation that's keeping you down, right? Down and dumb, you name what you want. You have to actually go to other search engines or research papers and books that are highly, highly classified, usually never published. It's just wild to see how the world has become absolutely incoherent when it comes to thoughts, and how correlating data and your thoughts can lead you to the truth, not down a rabbit hole. That's another. There are groups of people who get paid billions of dollars to call others crazy while protecting and hiding the truth from the masses. Period. You can look it up. Why does the CIA have 2,500 plus movies out? Because they're trying to mold an opinion through television and media. It's called indoctrination. Well, I ask you this when you ask me that. Why would they put the military in Antarctica if there's just penguins there? So their first mistake was not explaining correctly, and they chose not to explain. Rather, they chose to cover it up, right? They just simply state, you know what? Nobody's allowed to go there anymore unless you have the papers. Unless you have your papers. So right there, you know something's fishy, right? And if you can't figure Ask yourself why. Why would they block off travel to a place that only has penguins and it's a frozen iceberg? Look how many people can travel to the middle of a desert with the most unreal conditions on earth, you know? Deadly, deadly conditions. It's not because they care about your safety. It's not because they're worried about the cactuses and the scorpions and the snakes in the desert. You know, they don't ban you. They don't care about that. There's something in Antarctica you are not allowed to see. And you're being watched the whole time you're there. They're tracking you. You're on a boat with a captain who, if he says you are doing something he doesn't want you to see or do, live streaming, he can he can quarantine you in your cabin by maritime law. These are crazy, crazy facts you guys won't even be able to ponder. But I'm here just to give you, I'm giving it all to you right now. Every bit of it. It's not, you don't even have to think about it. Go look up the facts that I just stated and see that I'm not lying. That should scare you right there. A dude on YouTube is telling you how the world works when they won't. Why? Why is that? I gotta look up the WEF woman that said corporations profit off of lies. And that's why they have to keep telling us lies. A woman from the WEF said corporations can heavily profit off of lies. Billions, trillions of dollars are made off of lies. NASA. So, who was the speaker at the WEF conference that said lies are profitable? So, they refer to it as disinformation. Anything that they don't like, they refer to as disinformation. And they try and demonetize anyone who uses actual information, tells the truth they don't want out. They'll demonetize them. So when you look at the facts, corporations are pure evil. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you don't have to look very hard to see that it's happening right now, everywhere. People who tell the truth are disappearing, let alone losing their monetization. They don't even look like the same person. They disappear, their channels are deleted, and then they come back under a new channel with a weird voice, and it's not even them. I can think of several YouTubers that this has happened to over the years. And there's lots of people around the world who mysteriously no longer look like themselves or talk or sound like the person that you are familiar with. That's unexplainable. I mean, it is explainable. Somebody has replaced them for a 14-minute video twice a week or once a month. Somebody puts on a mask and plays a character to keep everyone else from understanding what really happened to them. It's sad. It's sad. It's heartbreaking. It's disheartening to understand. But think about what happened to JFK after he announced he was going to shatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. Isn't it mysterious? He just instantly, they knew his location, they knew the drive he was going to be in, and they knew where to stand from atop of a building to get the what they did to him. That is disgusting. Tell me the quote by JFK. He said he wanted to shatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and dismantle it. Why? He also said a quote about secrets. So they don't like talking about this. The deception over the Bay of Pigs. The CIA planned a secret paramilitary. This is by Google, by the way. Let me just show you this article here. You can pause it and read along with me. The CIA planned a secret paramilitary invasion of Cuba using US-backed Cuban exiles to overthrow Fidel Castro. The agency assured the newly inaugurated president that the operation would trigger a spontaneous popular uprising among the Cuban public. Instead, the invasion failed catastrophically, within 3 days resulting in hundreds of casualties and over 1,000 exiles captured. Kennedy felt the CIA intentionally misled him, the President of the United States, about the plan's viability to force his hand into deploying the full American military once the operation began failing. Lack of executive control. The disaster exposed that the CIA was operating as a rogue state within a state. Do you know what that means? That's like a gang. That is a gang. There's no difference between that verbiage and a gang. Executing foreign policy and paramilitary operations without real accountability to the White House. Kennedy was horrified to realize how much power autonomous intelligence officials held over matters of war and peace. So they decide who is in turmoil, lives in hell, and who is happy. War and peace, two completely opposites. Escalating Cold War risks. Cold War risks. Remember that. Kennedy believed the agency's aggressive, unchecked covert actions, including various hidden assassination plots against foreign leaders, were severely damaging America's global reputation. He feared the reckless, uncoordinated interventions would accidentally trigger a catastrophic global conflict with the Soviet Union. The aftermath. While JFK did not literally dismantle the agency, he took immediate steps to strip its authority. Fired top leadership, he forced out legendary CIA Director Allen Dulles, along with Deputy Director Richard Bissell. Remember that name, Bissell, and Charles Cabell. Shifted paramilitary control. He signed the executive order transferring the command of large-scale foreign paramilitary actions away from the CIA and over to the Department of Defense, placing them under stricter military oversight. Secret deliberations. Internal documents from the National Security Archive show that his administration actively deliberated stripping the CIA of its covert action capabilities entirely. So what you have is a bunch of rats and snakes who claim to be your friend, but they still report back to someone else for money because they're rats and snakes. Don't forget that part. Greed is the reason the world lives in turmoil, because you have shady people who take money for spying on good people who tell the truth. These are facts. Shifted paramilitary control. He signed executive orders transferring the command of large-scale foreign paramilitary actions away from the CIA and over to the Department of Defense, placing them under stricter military oversight. Secret deliberations, internal documents, the National Security Archive show that his administration actively deliberated stripping the CIA of its covert action capabilities, proposing it be converted into a strictly analytical intelligence body subordinated to the State Department. JFK wanted to splinter CIA into 1,000 pieces. Why didn't he? This is from the National Security Archive.gwu.edu. This is education it ends in. JFK wanted to splinter CIA into 1,000 pieces. And here's the legend. This is the real legend right here. Look at that guy. He's a legend. Memorandum for the President. Subject CIA reorganization. So he wanted to reorg them, strip them of power. Why? Well, we read that at the beginning. I submit the following views as one who worked in OSS during the war and served as a periodic CIA consultant in the years since. On balance, CIA's record has probably been very good. This is what it says here, June 30th, 1961. This is an official document written by you know who. On balance, CIA's in the nature of clandestine operations, the triumphs of an intelligence agency are unknown. All the public hears about or should hear about are its errors. But again, in the nature of the case, an agency dedicated to clandestine can afford damned few visible errors. The important thing to recognize today, in my judgment, is the CIA as at present named and constituted has, this is very hard to read, it's like blurry, has about used up its quota. Its margin for future error is practically non-existent. That means they never make a mistake. They're always right, and you can't tell them they're wrong. They'll get you. One more CIA debacle will shake faith considerably in US policy, at home as well as abroad. And until the CIA is visibly reorganized, it will, as in the Algerian incident, be widely blamed for developments of which it is wholly innocent. The argument of this memorandum is that the CIA's trouble can be traced to the autonomy with which the agency has been permitted to operate, and that this autonomy is due to three main causes. Number one, an inadequate doctrine of clandestine operations. They don't have parameters that govern them, is generally what that means. An inadequate conception of the relationship between operations and policy. Again, basically, like, this is how we do it, and this is our policy. We don't ever do this, right? Parameters, again, in my opinion. An inadequate, it looks like it's cut off. When the final declassified records from the John F. Kennedy assassination files were posted on the National Archives website last week, the first document researchers and reporters searched for was the White House advisor Arthur Schlesinger Jr. June 1961 memorandum to the president titled CIA Reorganization. ABC News led its initial coverage of the release of JFK papers with that document quoting Schlesinger's now unredacted dramatic statistics that showed the CIA today has nearly as many people under official cover overseas as the State Department. The New York Times also featured the document with the headline, "A Kennedy aide worried that the CIA threatened the State Department's power." Meanwhile, the National Security Archive, where I work, this is not me, it's someone who's writing this, posted a fully blacked out page 8, which is that number, the page 8 is very odd. That's the path of the sun when that number is held above your head, not laying down. That's called an analemma. Anatomy, tells more than you will ever understand. From when the document was first declassified, juxtaposed by the now fully unredacted page revealing Schlesinger's detailed report to the president that the 47% of the political officers serving in the United States embassies were CAS, agents working under diplomatic cover known as controlled American sources. Remember what I told you about things that like cheese and things that slither. Sometimes the CIA mission chief has been in the country longer and has more money at his disposal, wields more influence, and is abler than the ambassador. As Schlesinger warned Kennedy about the CIA's negative impact on exercise of responsible use of statecraft, often he has direct access to the local prime minister. Sometimes he pursues a different policy from that of the ambassador. Newsworthy revelations, to be sure, but lost in the media focus on the final secrets of this document is the broader historical significance of the entire 15-page memo since it was first partially declassified over 20 years ago. Schlesinger's secret proposal on CIA reorganization has captured a pivotal moment in the CIA's controversial history. One thing that I don't understand, that people actually believe, first of all, they covered up all the information, and anyone who spoke out accidentally passed very quickly in the shower. They don't know what happened, but this fit 32-year-old guy accidentally fell and his head was crushed by water coming from a shower. You know what I mean? So, how do I word this for you guys? Don't trust anybody because you don't know who to trust and you don't know who is evil. Unless they're filthy rich, I would definitely not trust those people. If they're filthy rich, I would definitely not trust those people. The reason is they definitely take money from others in order to keep you down. Okay? They will constantly they'll berate you as well. With their low IQ, that not only do they not understand what you're saying, all they know is complacency and money, greed, right? So these people never stood up for somebody before. I love how a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I do this and that. I'm like, so, but I've heard you and watched you talk down to so many others. You know what I mean? It's called being fake. Everybody wants respect, but nobody wants to give respect to get respect. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example. You walk into someone's house and you say hello, hi, how are you? And the first thing they do is disrespect you. Explain to me how there's any fairness there, right? You started out being cordial, and they the first words out of their mouth are disrespectful. That is the most low IQ you can be in this world. Also, it's devilish. To want to hurt somebody else while you sit there in a mud puddle in a pile of shit, overweight, bald, glasses, whatever the case is. These are disrespectful, uneducated traits that people all over the world possess. And it's due to the lack of nature. You don't get out in nature. You don't understand and you don't see the good in nature, how nature works together to ensure you have food on the table. Now, I could go a step further, and nature and nurture are basically the same. If your parents nurtured you rather than be violent and hurt you when you're young, look, you can tell. Just listen to somebody. Look, you can tell. Now people, I was treated poorly, but I was also treated good by others. So I recognized right from wrong and good and pure evil. Okay? So when I go somewhere from a very young age, I was quickly able to not judge a person, but let them climb to the top of the tree and reveal their true nature and lack thereof nurture. So this is the way the world works, and if you don't like it, you don't have to. You can stay ignorant and full of anxiety and stress and all those things you possess, while I live freely in my mind, and you can't. Have you heard of Operation Paperclip? Operation High Jump? Let's look up Operation High Jump for the minions and the masses of controlled minds. Operation High Jump. Operation High Jump, officially titled the United States Navy Antarctic Developments. This is from Google. Let me pull up. This is from Office of the Historian.gov. So this is the big one right here. Do you see this right here? Do you see that? They can't lie. So the Memorandum of Conversation by the Deputy Director of the Office of the European Affairs, Thompson, I don't know what that means other than a bunch of rich people that control other people. The above group met Admiral Richard E. Byrd at 3:30 this afternoon. Admiral Byrd, you can pause this if you need to and read along. Admiral Byrd had indicated that he felt he might be able to be helpful in connection with the request to New Zealand for landing and port facilities for the proposed naval expedition. I had suggested that this occasion might afford an opportunity for those in the department who are concerned with the problem to hear Admiral Byrd's views on Antarctica. Admiral Byrd led off by speaking at some length on the general subject of Antarctica, stressing its significance as an area where the cold weather tests and training could be carried out to develop knowledge and techniques useful in the strategic Arctic area, especially in northern Canada and Greenland. Interesting how certain people would like both those territories, isn't it? He indicated that in his opinion, high jump would also be of importance in furtherance of U.S. claims. He outlined the proposed plan of Operation High Jump. 2 special planes will take off from a carrier at a point on the other side of the pole of opposite New Zealand and as near in to Antarctica as the carrier can safely approach. What does it mean, safely approach? Were they worried about getting attacked? This is Operation High Jump 2. So they plan to go back. Look at it. Operation High Jump 2. So we'll go back a little bit further here. Yes, Operation High Jump was a real historical event, officially known as Operation High Jump, or the United States Navy Antarctic Developments Program, 1946 to 1947. before the signing of the treaty is 1959. So what was going on for 13 years there, right? It was the largest and most extensive sea and air expedition ever attempted in Antarctica at the time. The mission was organized by Rear Admiral E. Byrd Jr. and commanded by Admiral Richard H. Cruzen. Key facts of this expedition: personal fleet. The operation included approximately close to 5,000 men, 4,700 men, 13 ships, including an aircraft carrier, submarines, and seaplane tenders, and 25 to 33 aircraft. So there's those numbers there. Again, this is Google. I'm just simply reading the facts. I'm telling you the truth and I'm not lying. Timeline: the expedition took place during the Antarctic summer, running from August 1946 through late February 1947. Primary objectives: the official military directives focused on testing equipment and training personnel in extreme polar conditions. Why it spawns conspiracies and theories. Both of those words come from Kaya. Because Antarctica was still largely unmapped, that's not true. If you look at maps all over the world, they show Antarctica on maps that the Smithsonian keeps for themselves as land. And how would anyone back in the 1500s be able to map that without satellites? And wooden boats, by the way. So we're extremely lied to. You do know that the military has let's look this up. The military has technology hundreds of years in advance of what they give to the public. Where would they get 300-year advanced techniques and technology? Relics, things from the past. To learn more about the expedition's logistics, historical background, you can read Comprehensive Smithsonian Magazine Overview of the Mission. It's no joke. Smithsonian would be the only people that are allowed to tell you about it. And why is that? Because they control the narrative. You have to understand, media will control the narrative of what you know. This is how indoctrination works. You don't get the facts, well, number one, because they don't want you to. Number two, you wouldn't agree with them. And number three, you wouldn't do their bidding. You wouldn't obey, you wouldn't assimilate. You like JFK with a good mind and a good conscience, you wouldn't side with evil. Detail the exact type of ship. So how many people died on Operation High Jump, and how many ships and planes returned? This will blow your mind. They actually don't know how many airplanes returned. There's no data on that. The expedition originally deployed with 33 aircraft. A definitive exact count of how many planes flew all the way back to the US is not preserved in the standard military logs. Oh, so planes worth absolutely billions in today's money. They don't know what happened to them. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, those historians can suck dicks all day. They're not telling you the truth. Number one. The fact that there's lack of evidence and lack of information regarding this states that it's not a conspiracy, that there is something more to it than meets the eye, right? So you guys have a good day and understand that you're being lied to daily. To become, Frank says, to become super rich. He's teaching us how to become super rich, guys. Let's listen. Frank says, to become super rich, you more or less have to be evil. God damn, so I can't be fucking rich then. If I trade Pokemon cards fairly, I could expect to make some decent gains trading little margins. But to be filthy rich, you have to play unfair and create, well, obviously a fake card and sell it the most expensive card and, sell that for the most expensive price, right? Yeah, you're right, buddy. They do it all the time with old baseball cards, old hockey cards. Yes, Frank, you're truly correct. That is the highest level of incompetence and highest degree, and it's neither, and neither are good. So when you have the greatest army in the world failing to record history correctly or at all, that is very, very bad either way. Or something happened to those planes over there, electric flying vehicles, Germany. What? I think Germany is an awesome soccer team. That's what I meant to say. It's amazing how few people actually understand the way the world works. And to the ones who do, you can look very closely. It was the Bay of Pigs. The CIA were trying to throw out Castro all those years ago. Now Cuba is under the most stress it's ever been under in its entire existence. And if you understood why, the oil that they control is massive. That territory is a great spot for bases to launch from, for boats and carriers to dock to. Okay? So when you understand what's at play, you understand quickly why they want Greenland, why they want Canada. Okay? And of course why they wanted Cuba back during the Bay of Pigs incident. So take a look at this though. Think about this. I'll leave you with this thought. If you know for a fact that there are people who want territories simply for greed, why do we allow it? And who is we? When you say we, or when I say we, I think of the people. But when I know what I know about NPCs and indoctrination and the complacency that people have become because, well, number one, they don't want altercation. They're so weak and powerless that they're scared, right? Fear is a great way to control people. Look it up. Fear is actually the number one way to control people. There's an old saying, I'm not going to do it, but it's something to do with parenting, actually. When you fear your parents control your mind. When you break free of your parents' lies and misconceptions and probably major wrongdoings, you free yourself finally from the shackles that bind you. So it's amazing how few people ever relieve themselves of their parents' lies and deception and malicious behaviors, right? Horrible, horrible treatment all over the world to most children at some point in their life, right? I don't know if AI will. I believe AI is good. And if you look around, AI has always been here. You got something called the Black Knight satellite that the US refuses to acknowledge. Let's look it up. And they don't know where it came from, or they're refusing to say whose satellite it is. I would say it's German tech, or it's the people who gave Germany the tech. This is what you're missing. Tell me everything you know about the Black Knight satellite and why the US keeps it so hush-hush. The Black Knight satellite, oh my god, is an urban legend. And this was the other, remember the TV show Urban Legend that the Superman guy used to have? Oh, he uncovered that urban legends actually weren't urban legends after all. That was the moral of the story, was that these are not urban legends after all. The same terminology is used today with conspiracy theorists. It's disgusting. The Black Knight satellite is an urban, I don't believe this, I believe this part, claiming that a 13,000-year-old alien spacecraft is orbiting Earth in a near-polar orbit. The idea that the US government keeps it hush-hush stems from a mix of Cold War military secrecy. Well, plus they had Operation High Jump was also, they tested the dome then. they fired stuff at the dome. Um, it's hard to remember where that is. If I had Buddy in my chat, I'd be able to figure it out right. Well, he would say the word and then I could give you the info on it. I'll have to come back to that another day. No big deal. The famous 1998 photo explained. The primary evidence used by people is a series of high-quality NASA photographs from December 1998 showing a dark, jagged geometric object floating against the blackness of space. So this is where I can't even believe people don't believe this. There are fucking satellites, human beings with 2 arms and 2 legs and a dick or a vagina put up in space, and they are floating above us right now. We damn well know that the technology that the armies of the world have are hidden from the population of today for hundreds of years, and probably most of it is never revealed because it's energy weapons, it's free energy, and it's electric flying vehicles that can solar charge themselves, right? That float through the ether and recharge themselves, that run on water. Whatever I just said, it exists in abundance. You don't have to go to a gas station and put your vehicle by the gas pump and start pumping gas for pennies a milliliter, by dollars on a liter. This stuff is a joke that people can't see through the horrible veil that's been pushed down across people's civilization. So I thank you all for tuning in. And remember, you're not going to be able to fathom until you truly let go of all of the lies you've been taught. And you recognize each and every one of them as a lie. I would say the second thing, if not primary or even before that, would be throw a fucking hammer through all black mirrors. Those are deceitful, greed-driven media outlets that pour lies through the mirror into your brain. It's called putting a bug in your ear. It's a psychology thing. And to understand that is very easy. It's very easy. But you have to have hobbies and facts in front of you. You have to be a well-traveled person that understands nature in order to come to a proper conclusion, right? Again, if you sit around all day on your futon, your couch, or in your rocking chair and you just listen to CNN, the Discovery Channel, and 3 other absolute garbage news agencies, think about what's happened to those fake news outlets. Think about what's happened to them. Where are they now? Now they're on the internet. Now they control some of the internet through advertisers and what they refer to as disinformation campaigns or various bullshit statements they put out. I actually personally don't like any news agencies in the world. I think all news agencies are complete devils. And you don't have to look very hard to see how they keep all of the money in a very tight inner circle, only promoting their own companies backed by investors that back them. Do you understand what I just said? And anyone who is good with them in a good rapport, they won't tell lies and spin the truth about you. These are the facts, guys. When you know, you actually know. Oh yeah, Antarctica is loaded with resources. Not to mention alien artifacts, and they call them alien artifacts. They're old civilizations. Old civilizations. So, do you know what nuclear war brings? Do you know what happens after a nuclear war? Does anybody know? Nuclear winter. Give me the definition and explain the process of how it works scientifically. The scientific process, step by step, the physical and chemical process that drives nuclear winter involves a chain reaction through the atmosphere. Number one, you need a nuclear explosion. Number two, you need mega firestorms, burning cities, pyrocumulus nimbus cloud formations, winds, it's global stratospheric clouds. You need solar radiation block. So when the sun is blocked out or the massive LED light in the sky is blocked out, the earth freezes. A nuclear explosion generates a massive high-intensity fireball when detonated over urban or industrial areas. It instantly ignites highly flammable and modern materials like plastics, wood, petroleum, and asphalt. These small fires rapidly merge into a single self-sustaining firestorm. Stratospheric injection. Firestorms create immense upward thermal updrafts. These intense connective columns form cumulonimbus clouds. Unlike normal smoke from low-intensity wildfires, which stays in the lower atmosphere troposphere and is washed away by rain, this extreme heat forces millions of metric tons of black carbon, soot, directly into the stratosphere, roughly 10 to 50 kilometers above the Earth. Global distribution. The stratosphere has no weather or rain clouds to wash the soot back down to Earth. Once the black carbon reaches this dry layer, high altitude global winds, jet streams, distribute the smoke around the planet within a few weeks, wrapping the globe in a dark shroud. The anti-greenhouse effect. So you have to understand what I just said. There's something called a greenhouse effect. I want you to look up, next time you're in a greenhouse, I want you to look up and see that there is something covering the greenhouse, a translucent layer of PVC, of like plastic, of hard plastic, glass that covers a greenhouse. The anti-greenhouse effect. The physical properties of black carbon soot make it highly efficient at absorbing solar radiation. The absorption. The soot absorbs incoming sunlight high in the atmosphere, heating up the stratosphere itself while leaving the surface of the Earth in a deep shadow. The cooling. Deprived of sunlight, surface temperatures plummet rapidly. In a large-scale war scenario, temperatures in a core continental farming regions could drop by 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, with some inland areas facing sub-freezing conditions even during summer. Some inland areas facing sub-freezing conditions even during summer. So, how do I word this? The coastline of Antarctica could be referred to as absolutely inland. When you go past the ice walls, there's green grass now, but they don't let you see that. They only tell you you can't travel very far there. I don't know who's telling you you can, but you can't. There's no way for people to go a certain distance without dying because they've created a region that is so unsafe for humans that it's the perfect way to keep everything, all eyes out, okay? Long-term climate destabilization. Because the stratosphere becomes superheated by absorbing the soot, it destroys the chemistry of the ozone layer. This creates a second crisis as the smoke clearly clears over a decade. Massive amounts of unfiltered, harmful ultraviolet radiation reach the surface, devastating remaining plant and animal life. So when you see no trees in an area, such as Siberia, it's frozen and there's not much there, think about that, right? Antarctica, same thing, there's not much there. Yo, I might give Frankenstein Fallout and Radiation. Well, Fallout is a great word. You need to go watch the show Fallout because people went into bunkers and then they were brainwashed into thinking they were Chinese, German. People are just what they make of them, right? You can look up brainwashing and MK Ultra. It's real. Oh my god, this is so good. Put some hummus on there, some everything bagel seasoning. Yummy. So the moon is a map. Whoa, holy crap! You scared me. What? Okay. All right, guys, I'm doing God's work here as usual. Give me a minute here. I am son of Thor. You cannot stop me from telling the truth. I love you all very much. Have a great day. Ask questions.